Hello everyone, this is Ross from Retro Dream Beam. I'm an eBay seller full-time. I've been doing this with my fiance Netta for more than 3 years now. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm about to go into what we were shipping out today and Tuesday. A bunch of stuff, so we have to run through it and get this stuff packed up. All right, first up is going to be these Warhammer 40K and fantasy bits and pieces. I got a big box of them. I made over like 160 little lots of pieces. I could have done them separately. Some of the parts I did, but the rest I just kind of made little lots, and they've still been selling a lot. You'll see a bunch today. This ended up going for $12 plus shipping. Everything's going to be plus shipping, so I'll save us the time right now. People like to use little bits and pieces to like kit bash and practice painting or making full figures with their other kits and parts that they have. All right, next up is going to be this company Chariot Miniatures right here. These are going to be a bunch of Peltast. There you go. Long spear javelin soldiers right here. Some like more of the vintage ones. But yeah, these end up going to repeat buyer for $12.24. All right. Next up is going to be these 5 cards right here. They're just like some kind of fantasy art cards. There's a lot of these in the 90s. This was by the author Christos Achilleos right here. You would just get these like fantasy card packs. They have like the TSR ones. There's a bunch of different dead card games. These are just collectible art cards. But yeah, there's like cool swords right here. And then there's like an eagle rider right there. And then like I think this one's a barbarian with an axe. So someone paid $4 for just these ones. They say limited edition on the top. They weren't anything special to list separately. So I just did them as a group. All right. Next up is going to be the CD. It's Pago Libre right here, Stepping Out. I don't know anything about this. I'm not like a big music person, but I got a bunch of CDs for cheap, and I respect the category. And then I like all the physical media, the ephemera. People like to collect these things, especially because a lot of digital services get rid of the stuff people like, and then people want to still listen to the music, watch the DVDs, still play the games, from like PC games to other video games. But yep, this one's still in pretty good shape. This ended up going for $8.15. So yeah, the CDs that have been selling since I've listed those in 2020 or 2021, somewhere in between then, they still are selling. I wouldn't say daily, but pretty often, close to like at least a few a week. All right, more so recently than in the past. And the more I haven't relisted a new batch of CDs or anything, I have like a little bit left from the one purchase. But I've been like working on listing other stuff, but they'll still be selling even though I haven't listed them in a while. That's how many I got when we originally got them. All right, next up is going to be Lord of the Rings trading card game. This is by the Decipher company. There's another Lord of the Rings. It's like the Middle Earth game. Those cards are way more rare and more expensive. This is Gorgoroth Assassin right here. This happens to be a rare. I remember selling this one, so maybe it's good for the actual game. I've never played the game, but there's a ton of sets. Also, people who like Lord of the Rings or just the movies or the books, they'll also collect these, so it's not just for the people that would play the game. It's not around anymore. $13.99 for this rare, usually for dead card games. I'll list the rare separately, or like the foils and the chase rares, all like whatever the rarity is called for the game, and then the rest I'll lot up as commons and uncommons. All right, next up is going to be a combo order. These are going to be Peter Pig miniatures. They have a bunch of these. I usually figure out what particular figures are in the baggie with the little, they'll have like a range and then like a little pack number, and then sometimes they'll be on the Lost wiki or mini wiki page, and they'll let you know what they are. These just look like kind of like civilians and soldiers and stuff. So there's 2 of these packets. They end up spending $13.28. All right, next up is going to be a combo order of 4 of these right here. So it's same thing, the Warhammer 40K and fantasy bits and pieces. I labeled the baggie 21, 139. We also got 93 right here, and then they also picked up 124. So this is different than the other person. They end up spending, I guess they paid 4 different times. So 40, 56, it's like $58 and some change for all of these. So yeah, this has been a really good haul for me, the bits and pieces. I also find this stuff sometimes at auctions. People usually obviously buy like the collections, and I try to get those. Those kind of get bid up higher, especially if there's a paint job and you get hundreds of figures in like, a collection you're bidding on for Warhammer, and then people realize, that's a whole army, and this Warhammer stuff is just expensive in general. But usually people pass up on the bits and pieces. So I get really lucky with them, and I like dealing with them. All right, next up is going to be a combo order. This is going to be the World of Warcraft trading card game. The person bought 85 Horde allies right here. So you have to pick Horde or Alliance, and allies are just kind of like the regular minions that do the regular combat. It's not your hero. It's not your equipment. It's not like the quests. I think they're called quests. Yeah, the quests on the bottom. So yeah, these are just commons and uncommons. And they also got an epic rare and Antonidas' Aegis of Wrapped Concentration right here. These are like the little equipments in the game that you can equip your hero with. You still have to cast them and then equip your hero. This one's going to be a shield for either a paladin or a shaman. So yeah, they end up spending like $19.27 for these two. So like I said, I'll lot up the commons and uncommons, and then I'll do like rares and stuff separately for games. This is a really cool game. If you like Hearthstone, it's pretty similar to that. Not exactly the same thing, but I think it's a pretty good. It's like a really similar to it, based off of like a physical game versus Hearthstone has a lot of digital components to it. All right. Next up is going to be yet another baggy buff for someone else, but a repeat buyer. So maybe they bought some other baggies before. This looks like there's like some kind of like catapult pieces for some kind of like vehicle or trebuchet in the game. There's also a lot of the bases here. So I remember when I was going through the bits and pieces, I tried to put like the terrain and accessory stuff or vehicle stuff aside. So I did a little bit of effort into doing that. So yeah, this baggie ended up going for $10 for this one to a different person. All right, next up, I got a bunch of these cards. This is going to be Dark Age, Feudal Lords. This is going to be a pack of 100. I don't know if I don't think there's any rares in this particular one. It's a pretty cool game. There's also like a miniature game that goes along with it, but this is the debt card game from the 90s. It says 96 for this. So yeah, really cool art. They have kind of like this like dark fantasy to it. But yeah, this ended up going for $35 for this particular lot of 100. All right, next up is going to be, you see me sell a lot of Squad Leader, the mounted boards. This is going to be an empty box, Cross of Iron right here. There's a little bit of wear in the corner, but still it's like a usable box. I already have it in the baggie. This is like one of the expansions. It's like a pretty thin one. It will come with like extra boards to scenarios and then some chit token sheets that people have to punch out. But yeah, this is going international for $7.87. It's just like an empty box, but I know people, they get their boxes crushed. That one still has some wear on it, so they paid less price for it. But you know, some boxes can get like completely water damaged or like completely smushed if they're on a shelf. Board games are now designed these days to be stacked on top of each other, kind of like, you know, just different box sizes and stuff that you can do that. With the old ones were kind of like you put it on and they get like a mushing to them. All right. Next up is going to be CNC. This is going to be a naval game, I believe. I forget the scale. These are going to be 3 submarines. Normally, the little packets right here will tell you like what's in there. I think this does not line up with what was in there, so I did not even include the little side note here, the label. So it's just 3 different submarines. So I didn't know what particular submarines they were, but people like the naval stuff, the tank stuff, they'll pick it up. It doesn't have to be just infantry. But yeah, this ended up going for $7 for this little packet of them. And then this is going to a repeat buyer as well. I remember when I first got some CNC stuff a long time ago, I had no idea if it would do well. And I listed like 60 listings because I got this little like box of stuff and then they were like selling pretty quickly. So that was when I realized that was a pretty decent one. All right. Next up, Happy Passover Genuine Huggable Mr. Matzah right here. Some kind of like plushie toy. I have no idea what this one is. I don't even remember where we got this one. But yeah, we got like cheap plushies in 2020, 2021. I still have like a baggie or 2 to go through. It's not my favorite category, but I know people still like it. This one still has like the tag right there. This ended up going for $13.99. All right. Next up is going to be, this is going to be the Incomplete Lego City Join the Chase. This doesn't really matter that this particular Lego thing is incomplete. This is one of the little board game ones, I believe, where you would have the dice. No, never mind. I thought this was this. Oh yeah, this is the dice one. They have like the fantasy one. They have the Egyptian one where you get like a little dice and you change the little numbers and play the little game. Even though it's incomplete, people still like Lego pieces, you know. So I just keep it all together and just said it was incomplete, and it is. You know, I take pictures of everything that they get, and it's just not a full set, but still $8 for this one. All right. Next up is going to be Zombicide. These are just 7 little cards for the, what's this guy's name? The Stay Puffed right here. This is going to be from the little crossover from Zombicide. They do a bunch of different IPs. This is for the Ghostbuster ones. This is just 7 little cards. I'm not too sure exactly what the 7 little cards are for. Sometimes the Zombicide's expansion would be like a miniature, a couple miniatures, some small cards, some big cards, and maybe a little rule sheet, like a paper one that tells you how to, like, you know, introduce the new rules into any Zombicide base game or expansion you put in, and that's it. They're like small little expansions. So yeah, these end up going for $10 just for the 7 little pieces right there. There's a ton of Zombicide stuff, and people still like it to this day. All right, next up, this is just missing 1 token, a singular token. Chattanooga right here. This is going to be without the box. This might have been one of those inserts into magazines that you would get, like the rules right here. You got the map, and then I have the little tokens here, and I lined it up, I think, with Board Game Geek, and I noticed that there was only 1 token missing. People have a lot of replacement tokens. It's not too hard to get a little like square or a piece of paper, and then just have your last unit that you're missing. So yeah, this is almost complete. This is going to repeat buyer for $19.59. All right. Next up is going to be this game, and I don't know too much about it. War Gods of Aegyptius, Harbinger of Khaunum II. That's that figure's name right there. Sorry, it was like a mouthful for me. There was a bunch of these War of the Gods stuff of Egyptius at an auction. No one was bidding on them, so I got everything for $2. There was like 30 different things. It must have been like a collection someone dropped off, and because no one was bidding on it, I was like, oh, whatever, I'll take a chance. Even if they only sell for $5, that's fine, you know. And a lot of them have been slowly selling for a good amount of money. This one I'm going for $12.24. I'm assuming this is just like a miniature game that some company tried. It says Crocodile Games. That one I don't remember at all. So like it doesn't ring a bell for anything. So it's probably not around anymore, but it's still a miniature game people can buy the figures and still play with their friends or themselves. Maybe they like the figure for a role-playing game or some kind of other, you know, practice painting. There's a lot of reasons why people would get stuff even beyond just playing the game. All right. Next up is going to be Warhammer Underworlds. This is going to be a Rivals deck, Thorns of the Briar Queen. I got a ton of this stuff. I still have a bunch to go through. They would make you, it's a miniature game with Warhammer. It's more of like you get a tactical squad. You'll have these that represent the figures. They're double-sided. They get to like a gold side if they get upgraded. And you're fighting over a hex board, and then there's gonna be these different objectives that you're trying to get power points from. And you play like, I think it's like three rounds, I think 3 or 6. It's a really low number of rounds, so you're not playing like a crazy long Warhammer game. And then you have a deck building component to it. And a lot of these are different cards. They're like, these would come into the boxes where you get the 2 factions, and then you get the decks as well. They give you packets for extra cards to upgrade. So it's kind of collectible, but not in the sense of like, you know, like Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, where you have to like go through a ton of stuff. You buy your boxes, you get some cards and some extra cards to mess with. And I got the cards. I got a ton of cards. $11.19 right there for these. All right. Next up is going to be this. It's kind of like a role-playing game book. Hollywood Lives right here. The movie making party game. So it's like a book that teaches you how to make like a party game, you know, host a party and have people come and dress as characters and play them. So it's kind of like role playing. It's LARPing, live action role playing. There you go. That's what I believe this book is for. So interesting one, $9.80 for that one. All right. Next up is going to be a lot of 6, and there's some memory with this one. So they're in this box already. So when we first started the eBay, when Annetta was listing, she would pre-package stuff, and I let her know it was going to get out of hand, which it did, because, you know, when you pre-package stuff, there's 2 issues with that. One, it takes up a ton of space, and then the other thing is if someone does a combo order and you have something packed up already, like ready to ship with the weight, you have to take it apart and then make a new package. And of course, those issues came quickly, so we went into like the box system that we have now. So, but yeah, this was she had I still keep this. This is one of our last, like there's 2 things left that were our like pre-packaged items. There's another cup set that we have in the box of this. This was in the storage unit kind of on its own. So I've been waiting for it to sell. So I was excited just to get the space back. But yeah, it's 6 of the cherished teddies right here. They were like she put down, this was a listing she did. It was like a Barry Scary lot. I think a lot of these have, I don't know if it was Halloween themed or if like this character has Barry as their last name. So yeah, it's 6 of these cherished teddies. Not my favorite purchase. I don't know if I would do it again. Probably not. But people are still buying them now. I've been selling more this year. There was like a whole year where like maybe only 1 or 2 sold. And then this year has been, or at least the past like 6 to 8 months, not exactly this year starting in January, but the past 6 to 8 months, I've been selling a good amount of these. So $11.76 for these 6 right here. All right. Next up is going to be, is this the Chieftains? Am I reading this correctly? It's my eyes are hurting. The Chieftains 3 right here. I don't know what this one is, but another CD along with all the other CDs we got, still in relatively really good condition. Like I said before, we like the physical media. It's a good category. I feel like people who focus on categories like this are probably being heavily rewarded now and will be in the future, because the more digital media streaming services get rid of stuff, the more people want physical products. This one I'm going for $7.46. It'll kind of be like the backlash to the you're not going to own anything and be happy and pay for renting and stuff like that. There's been a lot of drama with all that kind of stuff. All right, I'm not going to dig too deep into it. Next up is going to be Monsters, Inc. This is going to be a pinball game right here. People like pinball games. I remember this pinball game. It was by, I can't think of the, Cap. I think Cap. Yeah, Cap or something. And then it was called Peggle. And then you would pick a character and you would go through these different puzzles with ping pong games. Super good one. And you get like a superpower unleashed. But yeah, I know people like pinball games. There's Pokemon Pinball. That one's a lot of fun. So yeah, this is a Monsters, Inc. one, a PC game. Sorry, that side tangent. $7 for this one. All right. Next up is going to be Mage Knight figures. It didn't drop too far. It would have been pretty bad though if it broke. I got nervous there. It's rare that I've like broken something. Most of it would happen if I'm doing a video, because the other time I'm not like picking it up and showing people. So we got 4 of these blood cultist figures right here. These are going to be rares. They have 3 stars right over here. This is the by WizKids. Mage Knight is the fantasy game. The Marvel and DC stuff ended up being the more popular thing, so they just kind of dropped Mage Knight. I want to say these might be 2.0. I don't know if these are Mage Knight 2.0. Maybe. They don't have the slots for items. 2.0 had slots for items. So they do have some of the symbols. There's a ton of these expansions. I usually do these as lots. Plus, there's a ton that I just collect myself. Very nostalgic. It's one of the few things I get nostalgic for. As a kid, I would save a lot of money to get booster packs at the mall game store. But yeah, I think it was called like Gamers Paradise. But yeah, these are 4 and some. I did some individual figures to see how they would sell. So these 4 did sell. I put quantity on it, $27.96 for these 4 rares. So someone's going to appreciate it. I know a lot of people still like the Mage Knight stuff. At one point, a lot of this stuff was cheap on eBay, and then, you know, after years went by, I looked it up, and now the stuff is more than it used to be. All right, because people like it. Next, last up of the day, Super Giant Monster Time. Choose your own mind fuck fest. This is going to be a choose your own adventure book, but and like a little twist on it. There was some like other books we had choose your own nightmare, so people are going to do spins on the choose your own adventure. But yeah, this ended up going for $12 for this one. We got a bunch of choose your own adventure books like a year or 2 ago. We still have some to list, still some to read, and they've been selling pretty well. Got some rare ones and some like IPs that I never heard of for these. All right, that's everything. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hope everyone's having a great week so far.